Ang daming aso. Like every other minute may tumatahol. Can you stop? Ang daming distraction. Loloka. Okay, so I don't know what to do. Honestly, I haven't been reading, so wala akong ma-upload na book review or a book discussion. Honestly, after reading Siddhartha, I was just exhausted. It exhausted me that I wanted to take a break. But I did try to read other books after that, pero I just stopped. And I didn't want to force myself to read something that I don't enjoy. Otherwise, it'd be unfair to the book and the author and the potential of the story. So yeah, I decided to take a break. Actually, that's a lie. I finished the compilation of poems by Emily Dickinson. Tapos, I started another, I think it was Jane Eyre. But looking at the text and how thick the book was for me, I just discarded it. I didn't want to feel like I'm obligated to finish something. And then I started reading this book 2 days ago. Could be 4 to 5 days. 3, 4, 5 days. Up to 5 days. Into the Magic Shop. It's by James R. Doty, MD. So he's a doctor, he's a neurosurgeon, and he discussed how the brain works and all that. This book is the inspiration for the song Magic Shop by BTS, and that's like the only reason why I bought this book. Very informative, very entertaining how it was written, although may mga jargon and scientific terms and experiences and stories that is personal to the author or the doctor. Because he's a neurosurgeon, so kukwento niya yung how operation works, tapos yung mga patients niya. It's really interesting. It's so different from like medical. I'm into law, so ang layo. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's like living another person's shoe for a day. I was coming from Siddhartha, and yun nga, nag-struggle ako to read other books after that. Tapos, reading this book also didn't help kasi it's super scientific and ang bigat niya, hindi ko talaga siya ma-absorb the proper way. So, I'm stopping, for now, reading. Instead, I decided to do this. I found this on like the booktube community kasi, ayun, wala nga akong maisip na gawin. I was looking for ideas. Tapos, I stumbled across this tag, booktube newbie tag. And there's a bunch of questions para lang may continuity sa uploads, and I don't really get bored with it eventually, and tapos I stop. Anyway, so the first question is, why did you start this channel? I actually had this YouTube channel for years. I used to write like fantasy chapter stories online. Tapos I'd make my own book covers, curate my own playlist, tapos I'd make trailers. And those trailers I would upload in the channel. Of course, eventually I found it embarrassing, kaya I removed it all. I think I had this channel since 2004, tapos I abandoned it. And recently, I decided to go back because I decided to pursue writing. It's something that I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure at first. Like growing up, it wasn't like my first choice. I just always loved writing as a hobby, like a second thing. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. Ayun, I pursued law first, pero bumps in the road, I decided to pursue writing at the same time. I don't know, just wing it. I didn't really think much of it because I would always overthink things, and this time I decided to just wing it. You know what? Whatever, I'm just gonna submit. Lo and behold, someone replied and my book got published. So I thought I should go back to Booktube to be involved in the community and also to introduce my book. I'm not gonna lie. So, free marketing. Second question, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? I'm still trying to figure that out. Definitely, I'll be doing a lot of book discussions. I love discussing books. I like having conversations with people. That doesn't sound pretty unique. Most of the book reviewers that I watch just simply review books objectively, and so you get to know the book, but you don't get to know the reader. I don't know, but you know, I'm still trying to figure out what else I can do. I'm struggling, but I'll figure it out soon. Number 3, what are you most excited for about this new channel? Just have one place to go back to eventually, to rewatch some of my old thoughts. Once I reread a certain book, I can go back, see how much my thoughts changed or not changed. When people reminisce, they usually look at photos, but I reminisce, I look at my old thoughts. I can always almost tell how I'm feeling at the time when I read a certain book and what stage of my life I read that book. Why do you love reading? I don't know, I love reading because it makes me look smart. Also like that it's not a team thing, so I don't need to socialize to do this hobby. Of course, you learn new things. I really feel like I'm having conversations or I'm reading the author's mind. That's my dog. Yeah, reading the author's mind by reading their works and how they write and how they build a character or build environment. I love observing people, but it's not like I go out a lot and meet new people, so I can do that through books with authors. What book or series got you into reading? When I was a kid, I distinctly remember my dad buying me a copy of one of the Sherlock Holmes, but like kid version that has drawings and stuff. He wanted me to read it and I did, and I only was able to read like maybe 10-20 pages, but I absolutely fell in love with it. Ever since then, it became my goal to actually finish a book and be a reader, because it was built up to me like that. Like, reading is a good thing, reading makes you smart. But you know, I struggled over the years. Wasn't really a reader growing up. I wasn't surrounded by people who read. What started it? I think it was the Hunger Games. An English teacher, was it a speech teacher? I'm just gonna go with English teacher in college. I think it was my freshman year. He removed that fear of not being able to finish a book by telling me, when you're reading a book, come across a word that you don't understand, you can skip that word and still understand the sentence or the paragraph or the story. And of course, it's good if you look up what that word meant, but it doesn't really take away much from the premise of the book. I read The Little Prince before that, but that didn't really do anything. Like, I didn't read any other book after that. I think it was after The Hunger Games, and then I read Catching Fire, the second book, in a day, and then it just dominoed after that, and I ended up reading a lot of YA books. Most of my allowance go to books. I used to not eat lunch so I can buy books. I receive my allowance like beginning of the week, and what I would do is I would buy a book, whatever remains, budget that throughout the week. Sometimes I just eat a hot dog for lunch or shomai just to save money, keep within the budget because I already spent the money on book. YA, I think, is like a good start. It was light and the covers are usually very pretty, so they're not as intimidating to me back then. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? What I would ask is, did they ever pretend to have finished the book when really they just DNF'd it? I think now it's commonly accepted to DNF a book, but when Booktube was starting, back when I was in college, DNF wasn't a thing. And I used to DNF a lot of books. Every time I do, I just feel guilty. Thought it was a bad thing. Bill Gates said always finish a book no matter how much you hate it. I just couldn't do that. If I don't feel like it, it just feels like a burden, or it feels like a job, and reading to me is far from being a job. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Editing and ideas if I'm not reading a book, because booktube is all about books, but when I read a book, I go through phases, or when I'm reading, I go through phases. When I'm in that mood, I usually just read one after another. Then I break that routine, and then I take like a month of break, and then I go back. So in between, I don't really know what kind of videos to make. Should I make other videos? When did you start reading? I officially, I guess, started being a reader, like an avid reader, in college after the Hunger Games. That was even before the movies came out. When I graduated college, I stopped I couldn't find the right book for me when I started working, and I think I was slowly transitioning out of my young adult phase. And then when I came back, I started reading poetry books, and then slowly getting back into fiction, then classics, now general fiction. I don't know, I read anything. Where do you read? When I was in college, when I first started reading, I'd bring my book with me everywhere. Dining table, commute to school, in between classes, commute back from school. I read everywhere, like in the bathroom, when I'm doing my thing in the toilet. But now I usually read when I have the time, obviously, while I'm having breakfast or before breakfast, at the dining table, or on my bed, before going to sleep. What kind of books do you read? I can read anything right now. I'm open to reading anything. Again, that's my dog. I don't know if you can hear that. He's sleeping right now. I don't really mind as long as it comes with a good review or I'm simply interested in it. I guess one thing that I wouldn't read is like a purely romance book. I have nothing against people who read romance books. It's just never was my thing. Even in like TV shows or movies, I haven't read a single Nicholas Sparks book, and I probably won't read any Colin Hoover books. They're very popular, but they're mostly like romance books, right? What I meant to say is like a purely romance books. You know, like pocket books, like Paraiso, ganyan. Yung mga Precious Hearts romance. Those type of books, I probably won't read. But again, I have nothing against people who read those books. The last question, what does your book collection look like? I can't show you right now because once I figure it out, I'll probably make like an updated bookshelf tour. I have one in this channel like 10 years ago. 9 years, I don't know, long time ago. But that was from my old house where I grew up in. I lost like 70% of those books, and then I have books right now that aren't with me. I should really put them all in one place and just try to organize. Once I do that, I will be filming a bookshelf tour. But yeah, I'm still trying to make it pretty and aesthetic and just something that will make me happy when I look at it. That's a project for me before the year ends. So that is the tag video. Maybe I'll just like vlog day in the life or week in my life, and just, I don't know, film whatever I can film and just compile it all in one. I don't know, haven't figured out. By the way, I dyed my hair orange. I thought that's pretty cool. I dyed the back part, so when I'm facing the screen, when I'm in a Zoom meeting, I still look presentable. But at the back, it's orange. It's really bright orange. I'm living my Hayley Williams fantasy right now. So yeah,